dog. He's such a dog. Fluff dog.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and shuck and clean these clams.
I've gotten comfortable enough with Duffy where I can lift her up as well. Take her on tops. Why? Let her just stand. She's like waiting. She's like, your turn.
Oh, you can go right ahead and talk. Don't worry about it, you guys.
I'll edit you out.
This is live, so yeah, no problem.
Hi, baby. Yeah, I have like your YouTube notifications on, and I'm like, guys, there's a new Ryan Jin video.
So did you have the clam chowder?
Yeah, we had to have a clam chowder. I think you guys remember, it has usually, when we went, they were under construction, but they had an outdoor, seating patio area. I don't remember it very vividly, so.
And did you, how was the clam chowder?
Oh, it was great. We demolished. Yeah, it was so good that it was complete silence at the dinner table. Yeah, we were just so locked in. We were and they had these sourdough bread rolls. They looked like little rolls. Yeah. But they were sourdough bread. And they had a crispy crust. It was. Yeah. And they gave us they gave us a substantial amount of butter too. They were not shy. So we were oh yeah. They know what's up. It was really good. Everything was really fun. One thing about clams that I find is nice is that when you're cleaning them, there's always a little bit any seafood, there's a little bit of smell, but clams don't smell super fishy. They don't smell aggressively fishy. When we clean fish,
yeah,
it's amazing.
Well, you know what smells on the fish are the scales.
The scales. That's
it's the scales that's distinctive.
That weird sliminess that they got on their scales.
Yep.
That's where bacteria live. That's where all the bacteria is, we have seafood now. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. They have germ-free fish, and they don't smell like anything. That's kind of crazy, actually.
Alright, so I'm gonna, let's see. If anybody's tuning in, thank you for tuning in. Transferred all the clams from the ice chest to the sink. And I'm gonna move this ice chest of seawater to Ginger's side, where she's going to use this ocean water to rinse out the excess sand. Okay, that's what we got here. Do you guys help yourself to the thing over there?
Well, you guys are gonna go out.
Oh yeah.
Well, you should do that after you get back.
After we get back from the dinner.
All right. Okay, so these clams have been sitting overnight. I'm gonna go ahead and take them now and shuck them. Got some really nice sized clams here. Take a look at this guy here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and adjust this. Camera. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and prop it up like that. This clam has got to be well over 5 inches, maybe 5.5 inches, big clam. Take your knife, put it right in the crack, and cut straight down. And we're gonna do it on the other side. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm cutting through the adductor muscle, which is right here. So there's the adductor muscle that I cut through, and here's the other adductor muscle. So when those tighten, it's almost impossible to open these things up until they relax again. So this one's gonna go over to Ginger. I'm gonna continue shucking these. Again, be really careful. Put your hand on one end of the knife and then go straight down. And you're cutting through that one adductor muscle. And there's some sand back in here that Ginger is going to clean out. And there's also a little bit of sand in the siphon. So here's the siphon right here. There are two siphons. There's the inflow and an outflow siphon. So she's going to clean out any excess sand in those 2 siphons. Here's another really big one. Take a look at this guy. This has got to be close to 6 inches. Big clam. Okay. Okay. So these grow about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch a year. So let's say this is 6 inches. You just double that. This has got to be over 10 years old, 10 to 12 years old. So this is an old clam. If you wait too long, sometimes that clam will close up. The adductor muscles will contract, and it'll be almost impossible to get through that crack. So you have to wait for these to relax. That's why I set them out overnight and bring them over to the sink the next day. You can do it later that night. That would work, but you have to kind of make that cut quickly. Otherwise, that muscle will contract and it'll close up. Here's a nice clean one. Okay. I'm gonna switch it over to Ginger's side. So let's go over to here. So Ginger, can you explain what you're doing down there?
Yeah, so I will look into the deep kind of recesses of the plant. Sometimes there's like little blobs of sand that's left over. And I never want to use fresh water. This is the excess ocean water that they were soaking in. And I just kind of shake the clams. So and it's usually enough, to get the excess sand out of there. I check around the siphon and anywhere else, and it looks pretty clean. When we put it away, so there's some sand right over here. Out. Sometimes take a look, I'll see a bit more sand in the very, very back part of the hinge. And this is the best time to clear out any excess sand because once you start cooking, it's not fun to bite into something that's hard and sandy. It took a lot of effort to harvest these, so you definitely want to have something you can enjoy.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and just show you our process. So after Ginger cleans the sand out, they come over to this tray, and then from here, we will, should I take that back? They'll go over to this bucket here. So these clams over here are the ones that still need to be cleaned of the sand. And these clams down here are the ones that have been cleaned by Ginger with the ocean water. So these are ready to be removed. They're ready to, we're ready to take the meat out. So we'll go ahead and show you that process here in 1 second. So let me move this back over here. All right, honey, shall we do this? This part here.
Let's say that two people want to come to a true win-win around, what they each see to be their best interests in,
I can see really good.
let's say, friendship.
Okay, so we're using butter knives, and Ginger's really good at this, much better than I am. Anyway, you see some people claiming to save the juice from the clams. Really, the juice comes after everything's rinsed out, and anything that comes out of the clam at this point is going to be juice. Otherwise, it's just seawater. So we're going to go ahead and take our knife and go right under the mantle. And then really the only part that we need to cut away is that, again, that adductor muscle that we mentioned earlier. So we want to go in here and just cut that adductor muscle away from the shell. And everything, as you just saw right there with Ginger, everything comes out really nice and easy. So go under the mantle. And then cut that adductor muscle away from the shell. And all of this juice that is dripping out is clam juice that we save. So we're not saving the seawater, we're saving the actual clam juice. Okay, so that side is released. Again, go under the mantle and cut away the adductor muscle. Okay. Yeah, that should be it right there. Okay, so it's clean when we're done. Again, Ginger's really good at this, you can see. So we'll set those shells aside. As we're going through these and cleaning them, the juice, the clam juice, actually has kind of a milky appearance. And it's fantastic as a base to the clam chowder. And if you're tuning in, thank you for joining us. We have a lot of videos in a fishing and clamming playlist. So if you want to see how to shuck and clean these in a different format that's not live, you can check that playlist. We also have a lot of videos on how to clam and when to clam, as well as how to prepare these. So we have videos on preparing these in clam fritters and fried clams. So we have several preparations that we enjoy. There's one recipe that we're playing around with. It is clam ceviche. It has a tomato sauce base. And so Ginger made that the other day and it was fantastic. So we're gonna add that to our repertoire of clam dishes. One of the great things about these clams, these Pismo clams, is that they're so meaty. You can see just how meaty these clams are. In the playlist, you'll see a video on how to, basically what we're doing here is shuck and clean the clams. And I also, in that video, show how I clean up the meat. So what I cut away and what I save. You know, at least I've been eating clams since I was a kid, and I'm 61 years old. And I grew up on the Central Coast, so I grew up eating Pismo clams. And we ate just about the entire clam. We don't quite do that now, but we do cut away a little bit of the dark meat. But other than that, we try to preserve as much of the meat as possible. So these clams were caught yesterday, And you can actually see that video on the playlist, or if you go to our channel, it should be one of the first videos that is posted. And we clam, that's a species of clams, but these were not caught at Pismo Beach. I just want to be clear about that because people think because they're Pismo clams, they have to be taken in Pismo Beach. Not true. Pismo clams, their habitat ranges from Northern California all the way down to Baja. In fact, Baja is where they're most plentiful and the biggest. Let me go ahead and switch this over to this side again. See, this one actually was closed up earlier, so now it's relaxed. And thank you, Julie. I'm just gonna go straight down. You can also, you don't have to go with the whole knife. You can just go straight down like this with your knife and just cut through that adductor muscle. That can sometimes be a little bit easier. So you get all that fluid, that liquid that's coming out is just ocean water. That's not juice. So we're gonna cut this open. I'll just show you that again. So I just go down and cut that adductor muscle. So it just opens up. And once that is cut, then it just, it just opens right up. And at least on that one side. But the other side is still intact. So I just want to cut through it. And there it goes. Okay. Oh. So again, the habitat ranges from Northern California all the way down to Baja. And they grow anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch a year, as I mentioned earlier. And they grow at a faster rate in warmer waters. So down in Baja, they grow faster than they do up in Northern California. The limit, the bag limit in Northern California is the same as it is in Southern California of 10, but the size is 5 inches as opposed to 4.5 inches in San Luis Obispo County and south down to San Diego County. And I assume that's because there are fewer clams up in the Northern California region. Again, because of the slower rate of growth, I would imagine that they probably reproduce at the same rate, but the growth is not as fast as it is down in Central and Southern California, where the water is warmer. If you Google Pismo clams in Mexico, you'll see that there are a lot of clams down there, and they're quite plentiful. Okay, so they've all been open. I'm gonna switch this over to this side now. Again, we're watching Ginger down there. She's, honey, can you talk more again about how you clean those for people who are just joining us now?
Yeah, I look into the little recesses of the hinge, and sometimes there's little blobs of sand over there, and we want to clean them out. I always use the ocean water that they were soaking in. I think using fresh water will kind of, it's not good for the flesh. I think it does kind of denigrates denigrates the meat. So I think it's like any of the saltwater seafood. You really don't want to rinse it in fresh water. But yeah, I was just taking out any excess sand that they did not spit out overnight. And for the most part, these are really clean. Every once in a while, there'll be some extra sand pockets, but...
Is that Michael I see? Yeah. Hey, welcome, Michael. That's great. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so can I flip it over, honey?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so again, our process is it goes from the cutting board over to Ginger, where she cleans out the excess sand, and then comes over to this bowl, and then we shuck them from there. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and take out the meat. Again, for those of you who are just arriving, thank you for joining us. We're gonna remove the flesh from the Pismo clams. And so we're gonna go under the mantle and just run a butter knife, nothing sharp. I mean, it doesn't require a sharp knife. Butter knife is sufficient. And you go under the adductor muscle. Again, this is the muscle here. This is the muscle that we cut through to open the clam. And this is what's going to, control the opening and closing of the clam. So we're gonna go under that muscle where it attaches to the shell and cut it away. Basically, there are four points where those adductor muscles connect to either side, and we'll just cut through that, and then that meat comes right out. This one's got just a little bit here, so we'll take that out, so that's okay. Here's a big one here, take a look at that. It's a big clam. It's okay, she can work. Again, these clams were caught yesterday. Yesterday there was an exceptional low tide. I think it was a negative 1.3 tide. And so I explained in one of our most recent videos on when to harvest Pismo clams. You want to look for the lowest tide possible. And the reason for that is because it's easier to access where the clams are when the tide is out. You're not going to find clams at the high tide mark. You're going to find them at the low tide mark and beyond. So as I mentioned in the video, the clams are in the intertidal zone. That is the area between the low tide mark and the high tide mark. So if you can go during extreme low tide, and wintertime is a time where you have king tides, super high tides, and super low tides, then you can access those areas. So during the rest of the year, those areas are inaccessible because you just don't get those extreme low tides. You get them in the winter time, and so yesterday was a really good example of that, where it was a negative 1.3. So we went out with some friends. You can take a look at that video. I'd encourage you to check it out. I'll link to it into the description, but you can also go to our playlist and check it out. I think one of the reasons that we were able to get some really big clams like these is because it was an extreme negative tide. And so, typically the areas that we were clamming are just not accessible to recreational clammers. All the recreational clammers are going to take clams from the areas of the beaches where they have access. And so unless they're out there during an extreme tide, they're not going to have access to those areas. So we went out there with some friends, got to the beach a couple of hours before low tide. And since the low tide yesterday, you can check your tide book. The low tide everywhere in California was in the afternoon. One thing that we had to watch was the time, because you can only clam until 1/2 hour after sunset. So 1/2 hour before sunset and 1/2 hour after sunset. So we were, we had to get as many clams before that time elapsed, and then we had to leave. So fortunately, Ginger and I got our limits, and just, as the sun was going down, and then we went to the parking lot and packed up, and then, I had some dinner afterwards, so. But again, the low tide is really the time that you want to go out. An extreme low tide is going to give you the best opportunity to get clams, especially the bigger clams. So the other thing I wanted to say, as I was mentioning, these clams, they're in the intertidal zone. That is the area between the low and the high tide marks. And I've done a little research on this, and the studies have shown that the clams get bigger as you go further out. So they do also reside in the subtidal zone. So the subtidal zone is beyond the low tide mark and is always underwater. So you will see, if you go on the internet, you'll see that some people dive for clams. And so for those clammers who are diving for Pismo clams, they're going out further. They're going out deeper beyond the low tide mark into the subtidal zone. So again, if you can go during an extreme low tide, and anything over a -1 foot tide is a really good tide. Yesterday was negative 1.3. And there's some tides coming up here this winter that are in the -1 point range. So, a little bit of planning in advance goes a long way in not only catching clams, but having a chance of getting bigger clams. Yeah, go ahead then. You were saying?
Oh, yeah, so sometimes instead of using a butter knife, I'll just use my fingers to loosen the parts that, it really comes out pretty cleanly, so it's mainly just under these adductor muscles and a little bit by the hinge, but it comes out very, very cleanly.
Yeah, Ginger is the expert in the house when it comes to removing the meat. She's really good at it. But that's not too bad. See, there's very little meat left there, so that's pretty good there. So as I'm shucking these, you can see again that there is some juice collecting down at the bottom of the bowl. That is clam juice. That's not ocean water. So that's what we're saving. I'm gonna just drop this over here into another bowl. Okay, we got a few more to go. So over to the side, I have these, we're collecting these shells. I'll just put them right here so we can see them. And so what Ginger likes to do is take these shells and fill them for stuffies. And there's a video on our channel on how to make stuffies, so I'd encourage you to check it out. You don't have to use shells. I mean, you can use any vessel. It could be just, like a ramekin or a shallow dish, baking dish. That would work also. But, aesthetically, it's kind of nice to have a stuffy and an actual clam shell, so she'll set some aside to make stuffies with. I have to believe that's going to impart a little bit of flavor too. So I don't know, not for sure, but. And just again, so to show you, down here at the bottom of this pan is this fluid. I mean, this is mostly ocean water. Okay, so what we have in this bowl, again, it has a milky appearance. That is actual clam juice. So that's what we're looking for.
I'll save the clam juice and use it. I'll put it in the freezer. I'll put it in a Tupperware container and freeze it, and then take it out later and use it for clam chowder, mainly clam chowder and soups and things. So very, very flavorful.
And so speaking of the frozen clam juice, here's an example here. Here's that Tupperware container that Ginger was mentioning. And let's see if I can get this open. So there is the frozen clam juice. And this is what she uses for clam chowder and anything else that she wants to flavor with this very savory, flavorful juice. Okay, we're getting towards the end here. We got like 3 more to go. Again, if you're joining us, thank you very much. And I'm gonna save this video. So if you want to access this video in the future, if you go out and get your own clams, then you can open this video up and follow along. I also have another video on how to clean clams, and that one's gotten a lot of views. So a lot of people have used that over the past couple of years to clean clams. So you can check that one out as well. That one is, I think, a little shorter in duration. It's a little more concise. So when it comes to eating these clams, we always freeze these before we consume them. We just believe it's a safer practice to freeze them in order to kill any bacteria or parasites that might be in there. As far as I know, there aren't any harmful parasites to humans that I've researched from Pismo clams, but there are parasites that exist in them. So it's just a good practice to freeze it. Of course, if we wanted to cook it, that would be fine. Anything where you have temperatures very low, like freezing levels, to kill the bacteria and parasites, or get the temperatures up above 140 degrees, that would ensure that you're going to kill any of those pathogens. You can just see the difference in size. So this one, probably a little over 4.5 inches, maybe 4 3/4. And then you have these really big ones. So it just goes to show you, at least where we were clamming, that the size really is, you know, the difference is quite wide. Ginger is going to package them up now. She's got, you know, again, we freeze them before we eat them, so she's going to pack usually what, two. Ginger? Yeah, two into each. What size?
These are quart size.
Quart size Ziploc bags, and once she'll label them. We have quite a bit of clams in the freezer right now from this past year, so this is gonna stock us up for, you know, well through next year. Oh. Okay, so let me go ahead and move this up so you can see what Ginger's doing here. How does that look, Julie?
Can I recruit you?
Yay! We have our daughter and her friend, good friend Mirika, visiting today. So Julie came into town,
And put
so
the
yes, so we're lucky to have her. She's an old hand at this, so she's done this many times in the past.
So I like to package 2 clams per bag. If they were smaller, I 3 or 4, but these are pretty good size. And then I like to kind of try to take out as much of the air as possible. So I kind of roll it up, seal it. And there we go, 2 clams. Throw them in the freezer, and then it's just easy to take out a package and make clam chowder. I need 10.
So what kind of dishes do we make with the clams? We make the stuffies, as we mentioned
Stuffies
earlier.
are very good, but I think
The fried clams.
fried clams, and we made those into tacos. Those.
Yeah, the fried clams could be eaten just straight away, and like with vinegar, or
Tartar sauce
with
or-
tartar sauce and vinegar. What is the vinegar called? It's
Well,
the malt vinegar. We also have it, like Ginger mentioned, in tacos, which are fantastic. I've made fritters in the past. My personal favorite is sashimi. So with the sashimi, you're eating raw clams. Of course, again, we freeze them first, and after we thaw them out, then we'll cut them away and just consume the muscle, the meatier parts. All the softer tissues we'll discard if we're having sashimi. What else? Oh, of course, clam chowder, which is you know, Ginger's specialty. Is there anything else? Yeah. Oh, and then the ceviche that we mentioned the other day. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the assist.
One of the things that's really important when you're cooking these clams is not to cook them for a long period of time. You want to cook them as quickly as possible or at as little heat as possible. For example, when I'm doing the fried clams and I coat them with the breadcrumbs, I cook them at like 370 to 380 degrees for only about a minute or two. You want to just get the browning and then take them off the oil, because if you let them go too long, they will get rubbery. And the same is true with any other dish where you're cooking them. That's why, you know, it's great to have the sashimi. If you like the flavor of clams, they have a fantastic flavor. They're my personal favorite among all sashimi. But if you decide to cook them, whatever you do not cook them for long. Even when it comes to clam chowder, Ginger will do everything in advance of adding the clams to them, and then basically turns the heat off at the end when she's making clam chowder, and lets the clams basically cook in the residual heat from the liquid. Yeah, I think we're good to go. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that was 20 clams, and we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 10 packets. That is 20 clams. All right. Okay, I think we're done. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. And again, I'd encourage you to check out our playlist of all the other videos that we have on how to catch clams, when to catch clams, how to prepare them, and just, you know, fun videos that we've done over the past couple of years. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.